Sabri Canary.
Okay.
With MakingStarWars.net. What's that I spied my little eye? Andor, Cassian Andor. Ha! Psych! How's it going, guys? I will play it at the end now. So, anyways, I stayed up all night last night. I was pretty tired right now. I'm still drinking coffee. They call it calf in Star Wars, I guess. Sounds stupid to me. Sounds like you're drinking a blended baby cow to me, but hey, whatever.
Bro, do you know the Australians call schnitzels snitties?
What?
Schnitties.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I was watching MasterChef Australia. Like, you love a schnitty.
I want
and I
a
looked at my
motorboat.
schnauzer. I'm like, that's my schnauzer's new nickname now. Schnitty.
So if you're like a fucking rock star of a gay man, you're motorboating schnitties?
Schnitties.
Schnitties.
That's a calf and a schnitty sounds like a really good morning in Star Wars, right?
Okay, so I spoke for you last night. Rob loves it. It's everything he's been waiting for. It has dramatic conceit, action, tempo, everything that a man wants. No, so
a flock of Cassians. That's what.
If Rob comes on right now and he says he hates the show, then he's just officially just a troll, and he's been playing a long con on us the whole time.
Wow, I wish. Yeah, that's a good idea. Like, if you had made that joke a year ago, I would have followed through.
I'm gonna, yeah. I mean, it's like when you get down to it, like Kenobi, Boba, Cassian. If you don't like one of the three, I don't think you're gonna like anything, though. You know what I'm saying? Like when you get down to it, like that's kind of the general.
Well,
like,
if you mix in a little race war, then you're gonna get a good YouTube return, right? Like,
oh, that's true.
You gotta stir it all up. You gotta stir it up in the mix.
I did you notice that moment in the show when the anal retentive dork is like, if we can't protect the borders, I was like, haha, they're gonna love that. I'm all for it. It's not protecting the borders.
Bro, I live in a state
dragging him
where the last election, when they were voting for the new mayor of Boise, the Republicans in that city wanted to their candidate was trying to build a wall around Idaho to keep Californians out. Right, bro. We have an international airport in Boise, but they want to build a wall to keep.
Yeah. But maybe it would be fun if California just took all of its federal tax and it didn't get spread around. Maybe that would be the good idea. Well, your welfare queens. But anyways, you welfare queen amadalas.
It's welfare farms.
Welfare. A bunch of Bretts and not Bret Hart.
Welfarve queens.
Welfarves. Welfarve.
Yeah. Welfarve. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be like throwing it like the Heisman Trophy at Welfarve.
No, you gotta send me a dick pic right now, Jason, if you want to complete the Welfarve, right? Oh no! Like when Jason gets a text from Bespin in the middle of the show, and he's like,
but everybody check out Bespin Bulletin's not twatter. What's the one all the fucking Chinese people are spying on us with? TikTok.
All of the above.
TikTok. The TikTok specifically TikTok. TikTok's the one where you're like Chinese overlords, just spy on me. And that one, yeah, that one. Yeah, he made some pretty nice Bix tribute videos today, and yeah. So check out Bespin Bulletin, the Bulletin is what we call him around here, on TikTok. So Rob, what are your deepest, darkest thoughts? No, what did you think of the show? No, not really.
Okay. Wrong show.
Yeah.
So
Because I'm pretty sure it has like a headlock and a bag of Doritos, and your wife can't say anything about it. You're like, "Ugh." No.
yeah. Yeah. What do I think?
What do you think, Rob?
Yeah. So I'll just say outright, right? If this
Mhm.
were the only 3 episodes we were getting, I would put it under masterpiece.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I say that not lightly. Like, I'm being very serious.
So
like,
as Cassian's introduction, you say masterpiece of Cassian's introduction, then basically.
just as a story in general, but yeah, happens
Mhm.
to feature a character named Cassian Andor, who's also in Rogue One. But just if it was just something I watched that was a rando thing that took place in Star Wars that was just 3 episodes, even then, this is I love everything. I only have one gripe, and
One
it's
gripe.
they could use some film grain.
Right.
You know, there's
and
a
that's
little in
always
there.
going to be Rob's gripe,
little.
and they're always going to want
Yeah.
it to look like modern, right? They're like do you think internally
Well, no.
do you think internally though they kind of like struggle with that, like we want
Yes.
it to feel like Star Wars, but we want people to think this is modern and not a throwback every time.
Yeah, and I just want to throw the Batman at them. You know, when they say it, like that's how you do it. That's how you do it.
Put it to film, give us a saturation, and put it back.
Yeah. It looks modern. It has all the distortion and vignetting and everything you need. Just old Greg Fraser figured it out. Just bam, like that's how you do it. So that's but that's not to this. That's like to everything. Like I would like that look on, like I would like that on Stranger Things. You know, I would like it on Cobra Kai. Matter of fact, I would.
Stranger Things should put a little bit of like tracking effects on the bottom of the screen and stuff. That's what I say.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the only thing I got. No, man, I think it's brilliant, and I think I do have some takes that probably aren't right. I haven't looked around the chatter, on the internet because I want my own opinions. But I'm kind of, we've done this a few times now. I kind of get a sense of what most fans talk about.
I spent 5 minutes, and it was either not a lot, but like this is boring, or it was it is the best thing that has ever happened, and there should only be this Star Wars. It was very
no. There shouldn't only be this. We need a variety of Star Wars.
That was my take last night. Was I love this Star Wars. I want this Star Wars. I don't want this for all of Star Wars, but for this Star Wars and this kind of story, fuck yeah. That's my take.
Well, I just think so long as you are going to keep, I hate using terms like IP around. I really do. But if you're douchey. I don't have a better way to explain it right now, so you all understand what I'm talking about. But if you're going to keep iterating universes, right? Batman's and Marvel. So Marvel, DC, Star Wars. If you're going to be making constant product, you need a variety of stuff. Otherwise, it turns into that CW thing where it's essentially the same It's the same show over and over again.
Sticky situations on the CW. Right. Star Wars is at home at CW.
Right. So you do need a variety of feel, but you need to. That doesn't mean put out shit and go, well, that was the shit one. It just means try different things, whatever works, then hone in on that tone, on those tones, and go, we have this look, we have that look that works, we have this look that works, and that we're going to flip those depending on who comes on to what project, So this is one of those tones and looks that I like a lot. And it's not just the visual stylings, which I gotta say, man, this in Rogue One, one of the things I love about the way they use like computer interfaces, UXs, UIs in the show is they try to hit that 77 feel, but really what they were doing, what Lucas was doing back then was iterating off the THX 1138 tone and feel, and especially when you get to that THX 1138 special edition, which I still say is brilliant. Like for me it's the when you say a special edition, go look at the THX 1138 special edition. That is truly a work of art, and it's art
I even like the
design.
added stuff. That's the stuff that like with the little machine and stuff. It was good. Yeah.
Yes. I love all of it, and that's like the closest thing I could think to it is when they made Blade Runner 2049. 2049 owes more to that, I think, than Ridley Scott's Blade Runner, if you want my opinion, So this has that THX feel, like when it needs to, and then it has its own little, boots in the mud, working in a junkyard, having to go to a jungle, other like a little bit of Lost, a little bit of tone, in there, a little bit of shifting of textures. But the storytelling thing that I like the most, when people say it's a slow burn, I think what they're missing is tension. And so what happens throughout the first 3 episodes is you start with one story, and then you start to play with time, right? And then it culminates, and it's this theme that occurs is family. And it's not just family in like the fucking Fast and the Furious sense bullshit, right? Or when they try to use it in like maybe Boba Fett had a bit of that, like, oh, we're a family, we'll work here and steal shit now. Like, no. This guy had a birth family, right? He had a forced adopted, he's almost abducted family, right?
Yeah, he was kind of taken by a weird lady from the 80s, like the kind that tried to steal Sam on Different Strokes. Remember when the family tried to steal him?
He ends building a new family, right? With Skarsgård there. Still forget his name. And but at the same time, you're seeing that paralleled with the security force where they have in the and I'm going to use my military experience on this because this felt a lot like shit I had to deal with, right? Where they build this sense of camaraderie, right? This like hua sense of we're all in this together, right? But it's really not. You're not family.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to rely on one another when bullets fly. So if you treat each other like coworkers, you're probably just gonna run. So like, you have to build this sense of camaraderie. But and you see like the perils of experience, right? Both are inexperienced, these two characters. The future Imperial officer, I assume, right?
Yeah.
And the future rebellion officer, I assume, right? Like you're getting these two stories in tandem. And in the Army, I was a tanker for the first year or so of my career, and I was on a lieutenant's tank. And
wait, Rob, continue to like tell the story. Everyone will be able to pay attention. Don't worry. Go ahead. Continue.
You bored?
No.
You okay?
Oh yeah, I'm okay.
You all right?
All right.
Went too far.
How you
How
doing?
far is too far? Right.
That was our plan. Just
Some of you're gonna
Pretty
need
cool.
What?
Boobs.
I heard everything you said, Rob, and I completely agree.
Yeah. So,
I'm just kidding.
but in the military, right? Like you end up on a CO's tank, and officers, especially lieutenants, which is like the entry level officer position in the Army. You get these guys that like they get trained differently. They get trained, even though we got trained at the same place in Fort Knox, they get trained by different drill sergeants and NCOs, and they get trained. I mean, like, how do I say this? Like when I walked into this dude's office, my lieutenant's office for the first time, he had pictures of him in college at frat parties. And I'm like, man, I've been working 100 hours a week for my dad doing security, and I had nothing to show for it. You know what I mean? Like nearly homeless, like you're running things? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like this dude is running shit. And he's like, yeah, man, like, and then he really bought into the lore that they told him about the military. And you're like, all right, you need to like, that's how it worked there, but here's how it works out. This is the difference between an NCO and a CO. And so like you get that experienced NCO in that dude's boss. I know we've seen that guy before. I feel like he's a Terry Gilliam actor or one of those type of dudes. The older, we've seen
or actor from the UK that we just see in stuff that we're like, oh yeah,
right. And he gives them like the real world advice. Like, here's probably what actually happened.
He's right. He's pretty right.
Yeah, and he's 100% right because he's experienced this 100 times before, and he's already known how it's going to go. And he's like, by the way, I got to go deal with these psychos you haven't dealt with, the Imperial psychos. And if we tell them shit ain't working right down here, they're going to get all up on our shit. You don't want that.
And then he goes rogue.
And then he goes and he finds a newer NCO, right? Or what we like to call these days the militarized police officers, who are like, hey man, they gave us all these guns, we should use them. Like,
yeah, I know. And he's like the biggest yes man. He's like when he goes out there and he's giving a speech about hesitation and hesitates during the speech on hesitation. And then the guy's like, good job, man. Good job. And everybody's just like, what the fuck was that? You know? And
I've experienced this though, where you have an experienced NCO who knows how to talk to the platoon. And then the CO gives up and gives his speech. You can see this in Aliens 2 before they go to the dropship, right? And the drill sergeant guy, that actor actually went to Vietnam, so he's got actual real world combat experience. He's talking to the troops in a certain way, and then they bring up the pencil pusher, and he gives them the corporate spiel, and they're just like,
yeah. Like, okay, let me ask you this. I want to see if we say the same thing. What was the most Star Wars-y thing that ever happened in Star Wars that was in the show last night?
The more Star Wars-y thing.
The most Star Wars-y thing that ever happened in Star Wars.
The droid emoted?
Like the droid emoted? That was it for you? Yeah.
When the droid was like, can I come? And he can't. And he's like really heartbroken.
Yeah. It's pretty Star Wars-y.
It's pretty Star Wars-y.
Was the native boy, Cassian, going into a spaceship and beating the shit out of it with a stick.
Oh yeah.
Like I mean, that was I had to give credit to that. I was like, that is completely taking the essence of what Star Wars is and fucking just throwing it at the screen right there. And I was like, that is so fucking good. Like, I mean, like Ewoks and stuff, it gets lost because it's adorable, but it's like, but that was it.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
I think George Lucas was like, one little sad tear, like, you know, he's like, yes. I think he should have anyways. I loved it.
Yeah. And but it ends, what I wanted to say was it ends with this leaving and at the same time simultaneously starting new families. And I gotta tell you, you know, like ever since like my parents divorced and then when my mom abandoned me, you know, like literally drove away, you know, and like there was this cycle in my life of anytime something started, I always thought about how it would end, or when something ended, I would always think about the beginning of it. And so like that sort of thing, like all culminating and you're seeing it visually happen at the same time, for me, like spoke to me in a very personal way. Like that for me was like for me, it was a very human, it's experience I've had many times in my life. So,
right.
If that didn't speak to people, if they're not used to that, yeah, I get it. You know what I mean? It's not that, but someone out there, there's the third cat in this, right? So there's Tony Gilroy, Kathleen Kennedy, but the guy who directed this is also listed as like a producer. Toby here, I can't remember the dude's name. It's all a jumble of colors. So like that, they get it. They get that, the human experience. And this is a human experience in a fantastic world. You know, and right. I can't stress like how important that is for Star Wars to have. Like, you got to have human experiences. You can have the over the top moments and the fantastical, like, great. That's the pulp part of Star Wars. But if there isn't a human experience, what Luke looking at the suns wasn't Luke looking at the twin suns. That's not, wow, look at the sun. Let's look at that again.
There's two of them.
Yeah. It's the two of them. This is super. No, it's that experience of you ever
you
been.
You thought Wenzel was hot. You just see two of them.
And you can't get out, and your whole family's telling you're fucking crazy for even wanting to. You know what I mean? Like if you've ever had that experience of never being able to fucking get out of the situation, that's what that's. You know, it's like dreaming, but it's a dream. It's not an action, right? And that's the whole thing Yoda gets into later. Like, man, you gotta actually do shit. You can't just sit around talking about shit all the fucking time. So. Right. This is a human experience that isn't a replay of shit we've already seen. You know, it's not just, oh, let's write down the fucking hero's journey. Bam! You know, go get a cafe. Go get a calf, right? Like so.
I gotta say too, man. The second time I watched it, I paid more attention to the music specifically because it came up last night quite a bit. That fucking drum solo was badass. I actually like
this was the music I thought Natalie Holt was gonna make on Kenobi, if you want my opinion, because her work on Loki was it was like this, right? Like it was layered. I know the P thing. If you're gonna do a P joke, that's the way you do it. I'm not against a P
No,
joke.
you're right.
I'm against.
You're right.
I'm against
I
the
didn't
way
even, I didn't
Lucas
notice
did
it.
You know.
I didn't notice it the first time. I didn't notice it.
Right.
I just like kind of like saw like the droid and was like looking at the stuff. When I watched it the second time with the kids, they were like, hey, look, it's trying to pee on it. I was like, oh shit, I didn't even really notice it because it was. So I think there was a bit of subtlety to it at the same time. But one thing that we've been asking, like, I still don't really know how the fan base is going to wash out on it. But the kids fell asleep last night and they both woke up with stomach aches today. What? How did that happen? Stomach aches, both of them? Oh no! They wanted to stay home and watch Star Wars.
Oh, right.
I couldn't say no. I couldn't fucking say no. I was like, you know what?
You know what? They should just ask you. You know, like they should just learn he's a nerd. If we just ask him, he'll let us do it. You know?
Yeah. No. I mean, once I shook him down a little bit of interrogation, and they just admitted that's what it was. I was like, cool, yeah. I'm like, you know, you're gonna have to make up your work. They're like, okay. So, anyways, they lasted 28 minutes, and then my son just proclaimed, "I'm not very interested in this," and went and put on his. No, I'm
5 years.
Right? No, exactly. No, exactly. He'll appreciate it when he's older at a different time. My daughter watched a little bit more and just said that she wanted to take a break. She didn't want to watch 3 episodes in a row. That I understand as like a kid her age, you know. But so point being, my little boy, not having it.
If I had to like
he doesn't dislike comics. It. He kept taking his VR headset to like look at stuff, and it was like, oh, okay, like he wanted to see what they found in the ship and stuff. But
so yeah, if I had to liken it to comics, you know, like I put Kenobi and like Boba Fett, really Boba Fett, but a little bit of Kenobi in the Sunday strip kind of like tone. It's like Kenobi, because of Ewan's performance, it elevates that. If you take out Ewan's performance, it's a Sunday strip. I put the Mando in like a really good like EC kind of like Tales from the Crypt creep show kind of like comic, right? Where it's violence, but it's cartoon violence. You know, it's good cartoon violence though. You understand what I mean? Like it has some edge to it. This is like Heavy Metal Magazine. You know, like little kids ain't gonna open up heavy. They're gonna get a little like, oh, is that boob? I think that's boob, right? They're gonna get a little bit. They're gonna be able to see that it's got a better refinement in the visual style. It's got paintings. It's got actual like, you know, it's got time and effort that can be put into it. But they're all the
how much for a picture of Biggs writing Bogatopoulos? How much for the painting, Rob? How much for the commission? I'm asking for a friend. Look, his name is Bestman Bulletin.
Midjourney can, well, no. You know. So yeah. So I would put this more in the heavy metal category, you know, like it's not, you know, and I'm glad we're getting
this is cyberpunk, right? This is cyberpunk with Star Wars. Yeah. This is the cyberpunk. This is the
closest to again Blade Runner 2049, THX 1138, really THX 1138 we've ever seen. Yeah, like it, you know what I mean? Like if THX 1138 had a little bit more of a human like element, because it's very here, you know.
1138 is more like, it's weird. It's like it could be cyberpunk in some ways. It's not very predictive, and it's more like it's just dystopian. With
Coppola, like if Coppola and him were like, if Coppola were filming THX 1138 and we're getting performances out of actors, I feel like this would have been similar to the result that we would have seen.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, this like series or this show, more than anything that they've done, does feel like it is people feeling dystopia, like feeling that they're in a dystopian universe.
Was it Ferrix is the planet, right? Like, this is the kind of thing I wanted to see in a show where we get to know an area not by its, look, this is the disco planet. Like, that's not what we're talking. Like, you want to know the geography a bit, right? Like the culture a little bit. You want to get a sense of like what's it like to be there. That's the promise of a show that a movie can't really give a lot to. You know, like the movie, like the same thing with Top Gun Maverick. Like, you don't really know what's it like to be on Fighter Town. We don't got time for that shit. We got to show the fucking jets. You know, like I can tell you
that's why the guys.
The rent sucks.
The guys who make Cobra Kai are making Fighter Town. I'd watch that.
My wife was like, "That's supposed to be Miramar. That is Miramar." She didn't know. Like, she lived there for 12 years. She was like, "That's Miramar." I'm like, "Yeah, right down the street is a Denny's." Yeah. We had Star Wars.
Thank
Yeah,
you for
and
the
we got
super chat.
real.
Yeah, we had
This is
Star
the
Wars
most
fight being laid.
real. This is the most real, like, two people meeting up for some nook we've ever seen in Star Wars. Like,
Now I know why Gilroy kept talking about plumbers. Makes a lot of sense now. Yeah. No, that was the whole thing. We were talking last night. When I watched it the second time, I was like, oh yeah. I mean, like he I gotta say, he went out like kind of a hero. I mean, look at him. Look at him. He did it all. You know, what else was there left? Where else was there to go? That's what I keep saying about him. There was nowhere to go.
I
So,
feel like if we saw what he drove, it would have been like one of those big trucks with balls hanging off the back, right? You know, he was one of those dudes. He was.
I don't know, man. I think that's what she saw. That's what she wanted to see. Like, she wanted to get boned by that guy, but she had he was waking up going like, it's pumpkin spice season. Would you like a latte? And she was like, when are you gonna treat me like the filth I am? And he was like, can I hold your hand? It kind of seemed
got
like
me on that one.
he was a little bit of, you know, he was leaning a little too hard. He needed to play a little like cooler, you know? Like that's what Cassian had going. Cassian was like, I don't care. I'll go bang your mom. I mean, that's pretty much what was going on. She was
Well,
like,
she accused him of a jealous husband, so she knows he got her around.
Yeah, that didn't come from nowhere, and it didn't come from her not caring,
Right.
you know. But yeah, I mean, it was like the subtleties of the show. Like I was saying, I said this last like 10 times because it just kind of what I was stuck on. But I mean, it's like not a lot necessarily happens in it, but the characters go through a lot with what happens. It's like about what the characters are going through because of the things that happened, not just like that kind of two-dimensional Star Wars thing where like, oh, his aunt and uncle died. Oh my God. Let's process that and understand it, but it doesn't matter to the narrative. It actually, things matter to the narrative here. Like, they bring up his mom needing her medicine, and like it's really weird. Like, when you watch it, like somebody else brings Cassian's mom's medicine to her.
Not just medicine, like she needs heat. It's cold.
Yeah. Yeah. and like dinner or something like that. But when you're watching it from the perspective of the protagonist, you feel a little bit of guilt. Like, you know, he did, you know, when he hears that, he feels like kind of like shit, but he's also kind of stuck. And so it just, there's just like so much little tiny things in the writing. I mean, even the Imperial Stooges or the security officer Stooges, like the stuff that they're saying is really good. Like, it's really,
it's really good,
well written.
and it's really acted extremely well. It's not over. Man, there are times, dude, like I love Giancarlo, and I like a lot of the stuff he does on Mando. But again, the episode everyone loves, when Luke returns, if you remove Luke, just look at like that whole Dark Forces like robot thing, and you're like, we are in Star Trek like 9-12 like land here with the acting, you know. Everything's super cartoonish and over the top. You need 1 foot held down on the ground, you know, like just 1 foot at least, man, to make it all like feel believable in some way, you know. So
Jedi Chris, he's the luckiest of all Star Wars characters. Yeah. I was joking last night because she is so hot. I was like, no wonder why he didn't make a move on Jin. He was like, oh, you're all right. She's like one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood, and he's like, yeah, you're okay. You know, you know, Bix was my girlfriend for like a long time, so it's cool.
Got a point.
That old dog.
You know, when you're friends with Bix,
Friend
like,
zone.
what's Jin Erso? Like, seriously.
That's what I'm saying. It's like in real life, like, oh, that's fucking, yeah, she's fucking hot, but it's like, oh, after Bix, man, it's like, okay, I'll wait. Maybe Bix will be back around. I watched you sleep and compose this song for you.
I like the dog. Yeah. I like the dog. The dog sells it for me. Sells it.
Kieran says Star Wars TV is not as engaging as Star Wars movies, but has room to go into culture and characters in more depth. It definitely.
I found this more engaging certainly Rise of Skywalker. So maybe some Star
Sure.
Wars movies, right? Like, yeah.
It doesn't. Star Wars TV, I don't think is going to probably ever give me that like dopamine exhilarating feeling that I'm going to get from like, you know, a pod race or the speeder bike chase when I was a child. That kind of looks bad now, but it's not really going to do that. So like in a lot of ways, as we start to transition back to film, like as we, you know, there will be films again. It will become a regular thing. The machine will get rolling. This is where like this kind of stuff should be, because the films are going to be able to offer it necessarily. They don't have the time. They have to be a roller coaster to some extent.
And if this is how long it takes to make something, 2 years, then just start layering in productions and let them take the 2 years to make. Like, I would rather this than a 1 year. Well, we got it done. I don't know. No. And just like a case of point, the very first shot when he's just walking on that bridge that they shot, you know, and then they fill the background in with the plate. So you see a city. But like when he moves back and he's running and that's actual distance and there's actual rain on the ground, I gotta tell you, it makes a difference compared to like the volume's great for like interior stuff and it's great for some exterior pickups, or you know what, it's great when you use it, but stuff like that is what makes you feel like you went somewhere, you know. So like I was willing to accept the volume 100% when I was like, well, if they're gonna do small little things with the dude on the ship, and then he goes on and it's a TV thing, all right, but then they're trying to scale up the action on these shows while still keeping it small, like with the volume, and then it doesn't work. It's like it's either has to be this little thing all the time of a dude slowly walking around places, or he's on the back of a moving vehicle, or you know, like, or it's this. And I gotta tell you, if I would prefer the way they shoot this than the way they shoot the other stuff, but I suspect they'll find a way to make both. What do you call it? You won't be able to tell the difference within like 5 years. You know what I mean? Like it'll be irrelevant. So like, they'll learn where they can do whatever they can do.
KG says it makes you feel like more a part of the story. It's real. And like, I don't expect anybody to have watched the show I did last night and this. I mean, that's ridiculous. I barely have time for it, so I don't expect anybody else to. But KG, last night when we were talking, and it occurred to me as I was watching like all of these like workers like get onto those little things and all that stuff, and like, you know, what you kind of see like in the horizon of the backdrops, and I started like thinking about like Corellia and how this did that concept better than Solo: A Star Wars Story, the film. And I started thinking about Han Solo's dad while I was watching it, and I was like, this is Han Solo's dad's one of these guys. Like, this is where Han Solo comes from. And in a weird way, it has nothing to do with Han Solo, started to make Han Solo better for me. It started to make all of Star Wars better for me by allowing this rich kind of tapestry of a background and filling it in. Now, whenever I do watch something that's very, by design, superficial, like Solo: A Star Wars Story, I like it, but it's just, you know.
Yeah,
here we go.
Had this been called Solo,
it gives it depth.
Right? Had this been called Solo, let's say when that movie came out, 2019, 2018, 2017, somewhere around, I can't remember, you know, whenever the Solo movie came out, if this had come out before and it really was about his dad, and we see little Solo run around, and when you just got these 3 episodes that set up what happened to their family, then you roll into a movie, bro, it changes everything. And you can say, well, the movie shouldn't need that. We are way past whatever a movie should need, man. That cat is out the bag. You know, like all of that for me ends with episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Because if you had never seen a Star Wars movie, you don't really you go watch The Phantom Menace, you don't really know what a Jedi is by this. You just get told it's a Jedi. You know, like you don't have, but if you had seen all the other movies, then the movie makes even more sense, right? Like, so all of that has changed with the prequels. Like we're out of that game. And I think now, like getting ahead of the curve is the way to do it, you know, where you get the stuff before the movie and then you build up an audience and buzz and hype. To me, you should just roll that under artistic marketing, right? So you make an artistic show, but what it's really doing is marketing that movie you're going to be putting out 4 years down the pipeline. And this comes out 2 years and then boom, you got your fucking movie.
Bix, A Star Wars Story. I totally agree. I am ready. I will watch it. I hope it's in 3D.
It's a Star Wars tale, Jason, if you think about it.
The Star Wars tale. Yeah. Or I guess can we just talk about how Tim risks life just to smash one last time? That's the most realistic thing I've ever seen in Star Wars, to be honest with you. Jedi Chris says, Bix, give me that Bix. And hey, Max, are you awake? Bix, torn between two lovers, feeling like a fool.
Bro,
Jedi.
the fact that that dude left her handcuffed to the wall so she could just stare at the dead body. I'm certain that there are some, unfortunately, some Ukrainians who have experienced this in the last 6 months. You know, seriously, like this is some shit I used to hear about. You know, so I suspect Gilroy, you know, knowing how versed he is in world affairs, picked that one up from a real life bit. You know?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah. Jedi Chris says John Williams was such a huge part of the films. That's my biggest worry.
I don't know what your worry is that they're never going to do that kind of score ever again, because they will. But if they did it every time, you just get bored of it. So it's.
I like, in terms of like the John Williams thing, like when it's truly working. I mean, truly working. And to be honest, like Empire and Jedi is when it probably truly works the best. But it does work when it has like that, mostly when it has like that swashbuckling kind of thing to it. And like that's what I was thinking about last night. Was if John Williams came and tried to add a swashbuckling Star Wars score to this, or tried to add fucking Duel of the Fates choral shit, like most of what we love about John Williams would not fit in most of this. I think his score would come out to be it would be like a space version of Catch Me If You Can. And I would love to hear that.
Kenobi needed it. Kenobi needed that swashbuckling, you know, and even his theme wasn't really, it's weirdly, it's more this.
Yeah.
Even the Williams theme, it's more.
You know, I was thinking about
all right.
When I was going to get breakfast with the kids, I was like thinking about the whole Star Wars project in whole, like for the year, like where we were last year, where we're going next year, like the whole like layout. I was thinking about Kenobi for a minute, and as I was thinking about it, I was like, you know, if these guys made Kenobi though, like here's the weird thing about Kenobi. If these guys made Kenobi, if you took this world that we're getting in Andor and put that Kenobi story into it, I don't think people can handle it. I don't think people.
I don't think we would have got that Kenobi story.
Well,
if Gilroy
this
had
though,
written it.
like if Andor was going through a deep depression in this, I think it would be like literally unbearable to most Star Wars fans. And it's like, so it's like one of those things where a lot of that stuff becomes like, fuck yeah, like the checkboxy fuck yes are different than the actual realization.
That's the
of
tension. But that's the tension I'm talking about. If he was in a deep depression, but by the end of the third episode is when he goes out to get Leia, then that tension is
like
released.
I was like, hey, here we are.
I know. Jason,
here we are.
Just bear with me. Think
Okay.
a little.
Yeah.
I know what it's like. This is what it's like to talk to me. So, you know,
Plumbers.
good cop, bad cop, right? So, but
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. But then when he leaves, you feel like, okay, now it's time to go. When they just, at the end of the thing, now I gotta go. Like it's like I don't like it. Just feels forced. Like we're moving the sticks along. We're pushing the toys along. The action. We're playing the game. We're moving. Like, it feels like a mobile game versus like a good RPG. You know, like
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know how to best describe. These are art. It's like trying to describe the feeling to lyrics. I don't know how to describe an emotional state. You know, and other than to use the generic terms like pacing and orc, and that's not what I'm talking about. Like, you know, it's just
it's tone, right? Is that what you mean? Like tone?
But there is a tension. There is a tension in that if you just got off planet and joined the dude in the first episode to move the plot along, you wouldn't care.
Yeah.
Withholding that. And there's something Macquarie said too about in an interview where he was talking about when
Christopher McQuarrie, not Ralph.
Yeah,
correct?
Christopher McQuarrie. Yeah, I know, right? Ralph McQuarrie was like, gonna go build a cabinet. So
fucking Ewoks, I'm building a cabinet.
Fuck these little bears.
What's in the cabinet? What's in the cabinet? It's like an Ewok head.
Dead bears. So like, the bears.
A dead baby bear in a jar that he bought off of eBay.
That's what happened to Paddington 3. So, but he was saying, there was a question to him about trying to hide or try to get the audience to not see what you're doing, right? The audience can figure out what you're trying to do. It's like, yeah, but you can use that expectation against an audience to where they're building to it. They're expecting it. And then when it is, you're like, so you can play to that expectation. If you know the Titanic ship is going to sink,
and you care about Jack from Titanic, then it works.
If you care about anybody, that's why he gave you a lot of people. You care about really not the little kid and her mom. No, not Aliens 2. No, if it's Aliens 2, then you care. If it's Terminator 2, then you're like, fuck her. But I had it coming. So so that's the thing. You can play to that expectation, and I think that the pacing of the Kenobis and the Bobas move at such that kind of movement that you don't have time to build that tension,
Yeah.
So you're just kind of like, we're moving along. I'll go watch the next episode. It becomes more disposable,
right?
And so
Poor
this
Bo.
is like a
see, but Bo didn't have a good time. Bo says really wanted to like this, but it was boring, slow. Don't give a crap about corporate police force. Could use troopers. I was bored most of the time. I hate a Kenobi story, but I was never bored with it.
Well, I would suggest just turning the speed up to 4 and you'll have a great time. Like, it's going to be entertaining and it goes faster. No, what I love about this was they made the line, the corporate defense security force is the first line of the empire. And so like when you're trying to think, this is a story building thing, right? Or a world building element that may have gotten overlooked, but it's like, the empire is using local corporate, right? Because of fascist government merges corporations with government, right? The government doesn't own the corporations in a way sort of own the government, and so it's those corporations are using themselves. They are the local security force, right? Military in a way, right? And then the empire is the next level up. So this show is dealing with, here's the base level of shit, and then here's the next level. As you said in a previous episode, Jason, Rogue One is the ultimate endpoint where now we're dealing with Death Stars and Vader,
Yeah.
And if you jump into Stormtroopers and you jump into that, none of that becomes threatening. You need a level of there are different levels of, and you see this in our own society where, okay, you have a security guard. Then you have the police, but then there's a version of the police that show up wearing military gear,
Or there's the security guy who goes to the military surplus store and buys all the shit. It's like, whoa, buddy, you're just supposed to be we had a guy like that at McDonald's in Costa Mesa. He had a gun. Should be the security guard in the coast.
It was why when my dad loved that movie, Paul Blart Mall Cop. My dad loved bad movies. And I was like, look, Dad, if this were a good movie, they would have got Tackleberry to play this fucking role. That would have been a fucking movie. Tackleberry, Mall Cop, right? Would have been the spinoff to properly do. You know? This dude obsessed with weaponry, and has the most mundane job ever and is overdoing it. Because Tackleberry is essentially what all these motherfuckers are trying to emulate.
Jedi Chris, I was like in my mind trying to reconcile Luke Skywalker's life versus what we were seeing in that show between the children on the first planet and then the life on Ferrix. And I was like, Luke Skywalker in a weird way lives on a backwater hellhole with Tusken Raiders and shit like that. But in a lot of ways, it's a lot more idyllic. It's a lot more space Kansas than what these people are going through.
Or it's like indigenous tribes in Brazil that have to avoid the part of the forest that's being, deforested and strip mined and burnt, and turned into fucking nothing.
Yeah.
And they're just scraping by, and they get dragged into galactic conflict,
And then next thing you know, you're going into a spaceship, you're seeing your reflection in the machine and you're beating the shit out of it. Think about it. It's poetry. Kieran says real locations should be used more, as it is important to get Star Wars planet realism better look than the volume. Yeah, I was doing a thought exercise last night where I was thinking about how Kenobi was supposed to have been filmed there, and this Andor was supposed to be filmed here in the volume. And I was like, wow, I was like, in a weird way, I wonder if we would have been better off in the big picture. Like I said, I wouldn't take this away from it for anything. But, interesting thought exercise.
Look, sometimes you end up with happy accidents, right? Like fortuitous act where you get, oh, we got this, they got that. They weren't, sometimes the coolest things are made when studios aren't looking at it to be the next big thing,
Mm-hmm.
So, and
Yeah.
I think of, if you're aware of the history of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, like when they're expecting the next album to be something, that's when all the fucking troubles happen,
Yeah.
And when no one's expecting, that's when you get the thing,
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Arya says Tony did so many incredible plot twists. When the cop tried to fly away and warn the Empire, I actually thought that it would happen, let alone I didn't know the citizens' street smart moves. Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting. That means they kind of, the working class people kind of no shit's on the horizon. Like they know that there's going to come a time when they come for them, basically.
So two things for me right there. One, that's a geography thing too. So when they look up and you physically see the ship smash into the crane, you can place where that is to the events occurring in that street. Something that I'd hope Boba Fett, when they had the sunken city, that sinkhole city, which I've been wanting to see since the Phantom Menace, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping they would have played with the geography of that city. Like they were going to do battles down this corridor, that end up in this corridor, that end up in this corridor, and that you would really feel like a city versus trying to planet hop.
Season 2 announced at D23. Hold your breath.
D20 3000 maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
24, 25, 26, 27. So keep on D23, but we're not in 2023 yet. I know. Anyhow, so that's one. Two, I'm really glad they went with the thing the guy, the worker could do is tie it to something, like hook up something, and didn't do I went in there and made it so when I hit the thing it explodes. Like that's what
I crossed the red wire with the blue wire.
Yeah, I was afraid they were going to do that. Yeah,
and it blew off his balls.
Right. Yeah. Well, we saw him messing with engines, so he knows how we all have to do the head math with how that all would have worked out. No, it's really simple. I just tied this fucking little landing shuttle right up to something super fucking heavy, and through physics, it's gonna get fucked up.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.
Man, I want to be Luthen when I grow up. That guy's pretty badass. I like
MVP,
I like.
Right?
Yeah,
I think him and
the actor is great. He's
Hopper,
so good in it.
We need to get him and Hopper from Stranger Things together, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those two dudes.
Yeah.
They say in Stranger Things in Space, it's gotta be Luthen and Hopper. Yeah.
We at Lucasfilm have noticed that a lot of you got really nervous about the Latino presence in Andor. So now this is our new show, White Boys in Space. It has Luthen and the guy from Stranger Things. You're gonna love it.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, I like it.
But,
what's that? And they got to add that third dude. Was that dude from Kenny from Down and Out or Down? What's that movie? What's that show?
Down Out in Beverly Hills?
No. It's got the fucking the line. It's the name of the line from the Smokey and the Bandit song. Eastbound and Down.
Eastbound and Down.
The show.
Yeah.
Kenny. They got to get
Powers.
those two and him. Yeah, Kenny Powers. You're stuck with him. You need a little comic relief.
God, I hate Kenny Powers, but it's like I love it. Like it's so funny. He's so fucking hateable. He's such like a horrible piece of shit.
Yeah.
But I love him. And my favorite line though is when he goes to put the baby in the water like Willow. I was like, you guys just get it. You guys know, right? That was like
they get it. They get it.
But
I get it.
Yeah, but no, there was like a lot of they did a good job. Like even what's the guy's name? Brasa, something like that. The fucking Brazo, the buddy. like that exchange where he's like subtly telling him what it's going to be without like breaking the law, like without conspiring overtly, and then when he starts
And he
giving
didn't need to
it
go
back
play
to
golf
him,
to do it.
yeah, right. but when he starts like throwing it back at him with exactly like how it actually is gonna, like what happened, and it was just it was good. It was just really good because like you learn so much about everything from these conversations that it don't say here's our relationship. You know what I mean? It was like he's such a good writer.
Look,
like
I've raised you since you were a 8-year-old on the
Yeah.
street. Like he does the same line, right? And that's where he got the line. Oh, like you could see, you could see. There's two different ways to deliver the same information, and it's a razor thin edge which way you go on that paper when you type it up. Like how it could play out. And I think it helps because Gilroy has directed before. He knows how to work with actors, and I think when you're a writer who knows how to work with actors, you know how to put that together better than someone who just writes things that actors will then say on a set someday. So like that, there is and I've read the difference. Even in a James Cameron script, it's pretty technical, like a James Cameron script. It's very technical, and the dialogue is. But if you read a Quentin Tarantino script, you read it and you're like, this shit comes alive. Like
yeah. Quentin Tarantino scripts, you get it's tone. Like
I recommend
entirely.
everyone here go read the Django Unchained script. Go read it. Go read it right. Literally, you will have a good time. And it reads so fast. There's shit in it that ain't in the movie, but it literally is like that's what I'm like. If every script was like this would be great. Like, unfortunately, they all can't be written that way. But I just think like that's where that difference comes from.
Yeah, like when I saw the Avatar stuff from like D23, it was like technical and functional. All of the lines, like they just told you what you needed to understand to enjoy the visual, like because that's where his like Cameron, like that's
and
where
that's
he's
been there
at.
since even if you read the Abyss script, it's the same way. It reads very technical. Like he was smart throughout his entire career of casting at least one or two actors that bring home a real human. Like on the Abyss, he put in those basically they're truckers, right? Like those the supplemental cast brings home these are like real people. They're truckers underwater. You get it. Casting Arnold brings the difference. You don't put Arnold in Terminator. It's like movie of the week in a way. Like it's that presence that Arnold brings is different. So he's really good at that. But yeah, those scripts they're like a blueprint. That's the best way I can describe it.
Yeah.
And I don't see an actor reading and go, this is the choosy role for me. Like, it's like, well, I'll bring my thing to it. And that's what Paxton did. Paxton, if you ever read like the Aliens 2 script, or Aliens, whatever. The Aliens 2, it's Aliens a double 2, bro.
Aliens.
Yeah. But if you read Aliens, the Alien script, Bill Paxton brought a lot to that character. Like he came prepared, that is not on the script. So
personality and for sure. And also, I mean, you could write Game Over Man, but you have to deliver Game Over Man.
That whole other stuff he does too. That's just great, man. That's just we'll just put her in charge. Like that's not in the script.
Damn the Man says theory time. Andor will need info from a hooded Zabrak. In exchange, he will help the Zabrak get to Malachor by the end of the episode. See, that's a Filoni one right there. That's what Filoni would
do. Yeah.
That
and
the
right
Filoni
into Boba Fett season 2. Like
I wonder I wonder how this show, if at all, like if you're Dave Filoni, right? You should be patting yourself on the back. If you're Favreau and Filoni, you should be like going like we fucking rocked this. Like we did a good job. But it's like when, you're the Beach Boys and then the Beatles put out Sgt. Pepper. Like, how does this, like, I wonder how, I know like they're all on the same team in essence, but I'm curious, like, what this does for them, to them. Does it just say this is where we're at and that's where that stuff is? And like,
I hope that's what they
define it more like for them as creators,
I hope that they refine and work on what they've been doing,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And I do think Filoni has done a good job of that. If you look at just the episode he directed on Mando season 1 compared to Mando season 2, you know,
Yeah.
he has refined that. We're on like a really elaborate play. I don't know, play set. I mean, like a theatrical set. Like there's a theatricality to how he sets. You know, like when they're gonna fight, when Ahsoka and Bo Staff chick is gonna fight on that, and they're that's an artistic setting. You know, but there is geography that the street with
Yeah,
Hicks.
leading up to it. Yeah.
With Michael Biehn and all that shit. Like all that is something he was not doing that first time around. So my hope is that they continue to do that, as opposed to like let's make this feel like that because that was working too. Like don't do that. It's
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Bo says it didn't feel like Star Wars at all. I'm very sad. I read fabulous fan fiction about young and pre-movie Cassian that was years behind this shite. I would say, if it
Fabulous fan fiction is my wrestling name.
Fabulous
like I need that. Yeah,
I'm fabulous fan fiction.
Yeah.
This morning you
My name
woke
is
up
Stan,
sucking your own cock and you choked on it and died. Fabulous fan fiction.
And then I woke up in the Matrix. That's how you.
Oh.
That's how.
You're Neo, but your face is an asshole. But anyways, no, I do think the next, I would watch the next arc maybe, and then if it's not working for you, I just leave it alone and I go back to it and just hit it all when you feel in the mode. No, I think Bo's cool.
Throw things at your TV.
I think Bo's cool. I don't think Bo's being like mean about it or anything. But
okay,
it's going to be a different. No, what I'm trying to say is, like the show is going to go like this is the show, but also it's going to be a different director, and for the next like batch of episodes.
But it's still show ran by Tony Gilroy, so
yeah,
you're gonna. Like other than performances, and like camera choice, the tone of the show is set by the writing and the showrunner, like on TV. So like I have nothing I've seen from Star Wars much from the show side has changed that opinion to me. Like as much as you can see Taika in the Taika episode that he did on Mando, it's still the Favreau thing. You know what I mean? It's Taika in the Favreau thing.
The thing I've noticed, generally speaking, from people who were either like ambivalent or didn't like it, is that they didn't really see a big difference between episode 1 and episode 2. And it's there. And when you watch it functionally, a lot of the stuff that people are like, oh, that could have just been one. Well, not really, because you have introductions. You have introductions to who these people are and what their relationships are. So when you get to episode 2 and then it starts to build, it makes sense. But that's where I don't think the people who aren't liking it, they're not interested in that part of it. They don't find it doesn't. I don't think it grabs them. And
look, you said it, Jason. You said it before. There are people who like the action figures, and they want action figure stuff. And you're gonna get action figure stuff with your Mando season 3. You're gonna get your action figures with the Ahsoka series. This ain't the action figure shit. This is more like West End Games role playing. This is when you play that and you're getting into like Imperial security, rebellion skirmishes, characters. I got to meet up to this person to do the thing, and then you go talk to this person and make a decision. And then meanwhile, this person's playing the Imperial officer and he's trying to put his group of dudes together. This is more like that. And if it ain't for you, well, then now you know what it was like for me to sit through fucking two seasons of fucking shows that ain't for Rob.
My point though is that like Cassian being a loser doesn't seem to appeal to them. But by the end of this arc, we now have Cassian who has 1 foot, in rebellion.
Those
so
are hot-shotters, though, Jason.
There's a next.
Is?
What's that?
So like in wrestling, hot shots are like hot shotting is when you put like a death match every fucking episode. We got a cage match, and then we got a cage match, and we got a 6-man one. Like every fucking show, you're doing these over the top stunts, so everyone always looks cool all the fucking time. And as Beavis and Butthead once famously said, if everything was cool, how would we know what sucked? And so you can't start everyone off like a fuck. This is the downside to the crossover of Marvel movies and Star Wars film, where guys that see the superhero stuff then want Star Wars to be more superhero-y. And to me, the prequels do that. They go into the superhero realm, which I'm like, that's not Star Wars. The Jedi are not superheroes. They're a little bit better than you. You know, they have connections to an otherworldly force that surrounds and binds.
That's what Gendy did in his Clone Wars. That was the superhero genre with Star Wars 100%. Like, that was it going max.
Right. Gendy.
The old Gendy. Gendy Tartakovsky. But
yeah.
The original Clone Wars micro series.
Right. Gendy Tartakovsky. Yeah, the original. Yeah, but in a 2D cartoon, I get it, because in animation, subtlety is a hard thing. It's so hard with subtlety, bro. And unless you're gonna do like Perfect Blue or something really cerebral, or like Ghost in the Shell, like the anime where it's just kind of like they're sitting there and you just track the camera down slowly.
I love Perfect Blue.
In animation, it's super tough to be subtle.
Yeah.
In any hand-drawn thing.
KG saw Marva straight up kidnap Cassian.
Yeah.
She did save his life, though. She did. She wasn't completely a weirdo, but you know that lady. That lady was weird. Oh, he straight up. I told Santa we got to pull that clip when he goes, "If we're making a list, we're making a list." I was like, Santa needs that clip pulled for him. That was the best Santa line that could ever have happened in Star Wars, I think. But RSL Rob, did you notice when he talked about borders? Clever Gilroy. Yep. The allegory is right there. It's right there. Yeah, KG also says Kenobi needed that like that gritty touch, and like that's like the thing is like when you watch Kenobi again, or if you do watch Kenobi again, like when you get Tala's story.
Hold on. I'm gonna let you finish. I just want to, bro. I just rewatched all of Samurai Jack, and with your subtle is when it just sits there and slowly pans down on a drawing. The minute there's a Samurai Jack fight, it's super over the top. I just rewatched all the seasons. Don't tell me it's not subtle. It's just slowly paced.
It's not. I would say it's not. Samurai Jack isn't subtle. I'd say it's dynamic.
Yeah.
And it's like it's the Beavis and Butthead thing. It's the Beavis and Butthead thing. If everything is cool, how it's cool, because so it goes quiet and then
and he does it for tension, so that when then it releases, then it's these crazy over the top. I mean, when he's killing all those little fucking bugs, and it goes and goes and goes, and he's just covered in all the black blood bug juice, over and over and over and over and over and over. Like there's nothing that's superhero-y, but it's fine. I told you I wish he was the one making the Afro cartoon, but
yeah. Kieran says episode 1 through 3 pace is okay, but episode 4 onwards is needing to be quicker and upbeat in my own opinion. I think it needs to be more action than politics. See, episode 4 is literally going to go into Mon Mothma, the politician, and the politics of family and home, and the politics of the public space. So unfortunately, that's not happening on that one. It's going more into that. But what I believe you're going to see next time is you're going to see people at dinner parties while people are starving to death on another world.
This is the book Catalyst. This is what Catalyst was doing. Mm-hmm. And this is like when I get people like I really enjoyed the podcast Force Toast, right? And they were really
we were buddies until it wasn't convenient. Go on.
Like this show, right? You find that out, right? You had a Cassian-like experience. Your name ends up on the hollows, and I don't know, man, my friend. I don't want to get involved. I don't.
I thought we were friends, but nope.
That fandom. There's a group of out there that really like
that still want to be cool in high school. It's never going to happen. You weren't cool in high school.
Romance. They want the romance between characters or something. And Catalyst is one of those books that's putting all that stuff people say they want, like the prequels and it shows a no. Here's how it's a Game of Thrones without the rape and violence. It's moving these pieces around and showing you how they got made. And look, your tolerance for that really comes down to how really interested you are in that. You could say you're interested in it, but I have always suspected most fans really aren't. They need the lightsaber, like they need that lightsaber to turn on and then tell me how a ship was made. Oh, it was made that way. Great. The lightsaber, like that's how I suspect 90% of Star Wars fandom is. It's just nice to know that other 10% is actually making 24 episodes of something over a period of time for us 10%ers,
Yeah. And once again, thank you for the support, Sucked, for the super chat. I appreciate it. Do you think people are spoiled by this?
Hold on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you did.
See you Sucked. Sucked. I see you all the time on the hot mic, right? So I see you. We both enjoy that show. It's great.
Do you think people are spoiled by the sequels that they find this pacing boring? Also, Sketch, I'm missing your Lucas Filoni impressions. Yes. The thing about it is, like, with Star Wars, something worked for you, and that's why you're here right now. And if the new thing isn't doing that thing that was why you are here, then I could see why it's just like, like spoiled you or it didn't. Like, the people who just fucking only love The Empire Strikes Back and feel like everything has been lacking since it, this is probably making them happy. And that's, right. And I don't think that's bad. Like that's what I was saying last night was I felt like this stuff was Cloud City, which is opulent. And this took the opulence out of Cloud City and then put what's it like to live in that world. And like, that's kind of like what we were sort of looking at, I think. Like, you see people walking around holding ice cream makers and shit. And so it was. But
it's not just that. It's also what's it like to live in a world of consequence, and what are the choices these people are making? These people are making choices. They're not just. It's not like one of those biome shows where they're just walking around and here's what they do in Cloud City and took a shit. Like no, they're living under the threat, right? It's not real war. It's the threat. This constant looming threat of violence and it's suffocating them, right? It's of persecution and authoritarianism, but it's not overt yet. And this is how it gets overt. And I'm telling you, man, like, we're living in these times right now, like there are people in Ukraine that have the overt. And then there's people right now in Russia who I have friends in Russia who are like, am I going to get like drafted? Artist friends who I've worked with who are just like, they've supported Ukraine all the way, but they didn't really think they would have to think about having to fight these people. Now they're like, what's going to happen? And that's what we're watching. We're watching this, and I think that the majority of Star Wars fans are the ones that just want the fucking grappling hook and want to swing and want to get in the ship and blow stuff up. But the problem with only doing that Star Wars is, it makes it all feel very hollow because you're just getting these action bits over and over and over again, and they don't mean anything. The action there has to be a reason for it, or it has to mean something. That first movie, it meant something because we followed Luke's journey, By the way, we followed it at a pace that if that happened today, people would say, cut the first 20 minutes out. Takes too long. Nothing happens.
Oh, yeah. Lucas admits it's slow by today's standards. But no, that's sort of where I fall on things is if you're going to go and you're going to do serial action and you're going to really fucking do it. Like George Lucas leaned into it for the time. And so it's very like fun, and it continually is giving you the episodic, like boom, 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 dopamine hit of here's the next fun, amazing thing. But when you remove that from it and you try to be grown up, but you try to do that still, that's when you end up with the snow speeder moment from Kenobi, which I think is the weakest moment in where the air speeder comes to pick up Kenobi and Tala and Leia from the Inquisitor Torius base. That is like the weakest execution of that sort of concept, because those things fundamentally don't. Like they get the pass by going, but it's Star Wars. It's just like serial, like yeah, woo, like we're just doing that now. But you weren't doing that a few minutes ago, and now you are, and it's like so. It kind of, I feel like the pendulum needs to swing one way or the other and be very firmly not in the middle. Like you don't want the series right in the middle of it. You kind of want it all the way here or you want it all the way in the Mando. Like you just want one. I think it needs to kind of be a polar extreme, or it's confusing. You lose the audience.
And I think the hope with the Kenobi was that it was going to be prequels with stakes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the prequels kind of were childish in their stakes, even though it was the fate of the whole galaxy. You know, like it shouldn't be that way at all. It's just the way it was presented felt like, oh yeah, it's all gonna go to shit. Oh well, I can't wait to see it. Yeah, give me stormtroopers. Woohoo! Like I know you're rooting. You're rooting. Yeah, burn it down. Burn it down.
And I sincerely love Kenobi. It just, but I'm not going to say it doesn't have imperfections. It does. It has imperfections on it. So like that's.
Yeah, I think if you took that whole third act and you put it all culminating in getting into and out of the Inquisitorius Fortress, right? If all of it was put there and you really made a geographical setting out of that, of getting in and getting out, and Vader's there, and there's all these things again, and then they escape, you know, then all that can pay off way better. It becomes a big set piece, as opposed to, well, we go here, and then we have to go there, and now we have to go here, and now we have to go there. Like, no, you could take 3 episodes, man, and really make us know what this place is like, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I mean, you yeah, I mean, it's complicated, but Quentin says, or Quentin, thank you for the super chat, bud. And by the way, check out Wayward Ambience. It's on Spotify and Apple Music. It's Quentin's music. It's good. It's pretty fucking good. I've been listening to it while I work and stuff, and I dig it. So check it out. Quentin says, maybe I'm just old. I thought the pacing, story, and action were damn near at a 10 out of 10 level. For the genre in which this show is operating right now, it doesn't get much better. Like it's literally doing that golden age of television, high drama. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's almost historical without being boring, you know, not based on real history, but based on, I'm going to say political parables, but it's fucking dead on. Like I have no real critique of what that piece is. Like, that's like the whole thing. It's like, I always have to go back to music analogies, but it's like when that punk band you like or something puts out an acoustic record. The acoustic record is good, but you like them for completely different reasons. It's like, well, that doesn't make it like bad, or doesn't make it off, or it doesn't make it like the record just is what it is, because that's what they want to do. The writer, directors, they set out to do this. It's like, I think it's such a different thing when they are trying to pace something one way. If you were trying to make Mandalorian and you made this and you could tell, then it would be like, what the fuck is going on? But that's not what we have. But that's what like the hyperbolic rhetoric that you hear on social media would lead you to believe, right? I mean,
the way I would think about it, similar to what you said, is I think to the very first pilot episode of Cobra Kai, when Johnny's working the shitty job being like a construction dude, and he's hanging out at that shitty dirt mall getting his, you know, falafel or whatever, you know, and it's like it's got one foot in that Dan Gilroy Nightcrawler world, right? And then there's this cartoonish aspect of the 80s that comes in. And by season 5, it's like all 80s. There ain't none of that real world. We're not in now. Every scene in a car is a really bad green screen on purpose. You know what I mean? Like, it's all leaning into the cheese, and there is no toast. You know? Yeah. There's nothing bitter to contrast against that savory cheese, and it's just like it's all cheese now. So,
we might need to go intervene. I know Star Wars Santa is Quentin's dog. They're buds, you know, and it sounds like Santa's terrorizing the backyard again. Crashing barbecues.
You hear the dog barking back there.
He's got all the hot dogs in his mouth, like a fucking Slimer.
Yeah. The Spud. Come on, Matt. Right, it's the Spud.
Matt's still going with it. If we don't see Kamal as a droid in Coruscant in episode 4, I'm done with Andor and with Star Wars forever.
See you at the premiere, Matt.
The show is what Attack of the Clones should have been. You know, and you know what? I think you actually make somewhat of a good point in that they would say stuff about Attack of the Clones that made people believe that or hope for that. It's like Empire Strikes
and
Back. It's dark, it's deep, and
specifically with the construction of the Imperial fleet and the Empire with Wraith Sinar and Sinar fleet and Tarkin and all that stuff. It was really made to believe before that film came out that we were going to see that sort of thing, and then it sort of just turned into we're the Techno Union, blah blah blah, and you're like, oh shit, you know?
yeah.
Okay, I'm in a color forms factory now. Like, alrighty, you know?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Arya says, Jason, I have to be honest, with the Plo Koon face on a stand, I truly wonder what else Tony has in this show. Tarkin, Krennic, Vader. How did he manage to hide Plo Koon?
Like I was saying in the background, like Snarf is, and all
yeah. So here's my take, and I could be wrong in it, you know what I mean? But I gotta say, Arya, I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Gilroy doesn't even know who Plo Koon is, in the sense that it
surprised.
Yeah, I would
put $1,000 down.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he probably doesn't know who Plo Koon is, and they were simply like, look, you know, coming up with things that they could do. The concept artist probably did something and was like, yeah, that's cool, and he picked it. And then now, like Plo Koon's mask, you know, Plo Koon's electronics, like the mask parts on his face, he has that. He has it like on like as an antique kind of thing in his collection. As the series goes on, we're going to learn that he uses the antiques business as an excuse to travel around the galaxy kind of unchecked. The Empire's like
dressing stuff. Yeah. That's something you talk to your production designer, and, you know, and they're working with concept. I mean, that's not really the thing the showrunners. I mean, they're making decisions, but they kind of leave that stuff up.
Yeah.
It's not.
And like if the Mas Amedda stuff pans out, for instance, and Mas Amedda's in it, well, it's like Gilroy's like, hey, I'm writing something about like who would be like the vice chancellor. Like, we're not at Palpatine. We got like a vice chancellor. He's showing up, so it's like a really big deal. It's like a really big deal, and they want to. Yeah, exactly. And so that's when Pablo Hidalgo is going to be like, it's Mas Amedda. You can't fire me. You need me. You guys are nothing without me. I'm the only one who knows about Wikipedia. And then, as we know, Gilroy did learn about Wikipedia, but
he's a Wikipedia.
But no, it kind of like, you know, I don't think he's like so invested in that kind of stuff. I don't think his mind is there. I think his mind is on what I think this is stuff that bothers him about Earth and human stories that bother him and things that he's afraid of. And I think he's trying to teach us a lesson about fascism. And he's also trying to, in a weird way, maybe help a certain part of us work through our anxieties about it, considering the environment in which it was written and the time in which the story was crafted. Maybe I'm getting too, you know, poetic about it. Maybe it's not really that deep. I don't know. But it does seem like that's kind of what the idea is behind this one. And in science fiction, and how do you write it? And Gilroy strikes me as the kind of person who would probably have, if we asked him, a very, very clear, concise view on what the function of science fiction is in Western culture. I think if we were to ask him that, I think he'd have a bomb-ass answer. You know what I mean?
And I'm sure it would have something to do with the human experience and not about the spaceships. Like it's about,
like George said,
how these. Yeah,
and
like
then lied.
Said,
Toy made it all about spaceships.
He was toy lying, dude.
It's totally,
this was funny. He
totally
says the right things because he knew. Yeah, look, we all said it. You know, in USC, Santa Barbara, blah 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 blah. You know, but then, you know, and he meant it when he said it. But then at the end, it just becomes this thing. It kills me the most, man.
George is me on a diet. I'm on a diet. We're not doing that. It's like, you know what? We're gonna have a little bit one of those Cinnabon delights.
As you keep getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, but like a little bit
for a period of 20 years.
Next thing you know, I got a little George Lucas gullet. I'm like fucking, what's his name? Dexter Jetster.
Yeah. The only photos they can get of you are at the Mongolian barbecue, but keep telling me you're diabetic. So like,
What do you mean there's sugar in this orange chicken? It's orange chicken. Why would there be sugar in it? That doesn't compute.
The one that gets me the most is how it gets to Rick McCallum telling us all about how it's about the story. You know, and you're just like, it's just the last thing you're interested in, Rick. Like, just stop lying. Just tell us it's all about the toys. Like, at least Joel Schumacher was like, look, I went on with it. It's toyetic. I went with it. You know what I mean? We knew what we were doing.
You want to know what I believe? I believe Rick McCallum doesn't really know a lot about story. I don't think he like goes into George Lucas's office and pretends that he's like, I know what I'm talking about. I went to USC. I don't think he's that guy. So when George says
inflation, though,
but yeah, exactly. No, and so when George says something, he's like, I believe you. I think he sincerely believed George and in George. And I think and all the way at Young Indy, like when they started, you know what I mean? Like that's why George was like, this is my guy. You know what I mean? This guy's gonna help me make my vision. I'm paying this guy to make my vision, not to get a sweet ass pussy eating beard with no mustache. but hey, that's just me.
Man. So good.
Yeah. Arya says, yeah, but nobody leaked his face. So I wonder how strict they were with some of those scenes. So that's the thing, Arya. Nobody knows what the fuck that is. Like you and we know. I could be. I mean, Rob, would you, if I just showed you the picture and didn't point it out, would you have caught it? That was like Plo Koon's?
I didn't even recognize. No, I wouldn't be able to tell you. And
yeah,
look, and I have all the Plo Koon concept art and I got all the books and shit. I got the photo archives, 2099 to 2005.
This Arya is Jason and Arya shit. Like
it's fan.
We have to remember
it's little
that
fun Easter eggs they put in the background. You guys, like, you got to be very careful, Arya, when you're looking at that stuff, and then you don't want a show that puts that stuff there to tell to lean on. That's our story. It's that thing in the background. That's the last thing you want. It's the thing that, and I know Arya's not saying this, but it's the thing that the Marvel cats they lean in too much on. What's in the background of this thing? It's good. It's like when they saw the Thanos glove in Thor, and that meant a whole thing to them, and then it didn't actually work out, and then Marvel was like, we got to figure out a way to show how that Thanos glove wasn't real, because it's not actually what we want to do. Like they cover a bit of that in the story of the Marvel Studios. Like putting those kinds of fan servicey things really can get them into a bind, at some point, and then they have to make a joke out of it in the movie, and then they go, "Whoa, it was a joke in the movie," because there was no other way out of it to make any sense. It had to be a throwaway goof. So those are just there for fun, and the way that the ending to Predator 2 had that alien skull in the background, right? When Danny Glover goes in the Predator ship and it's got that cool alien skull. That's just a cool little thing, if you know what that is. But it could have been, instead of Plo Koon, it was Pho Koon, right?
Yeah.
It was Doug Koon. It was
but also at the end of the day, whenever I think, what are they called? Cordels or something like that.
Cordels.
Whenever this race
Jeremy
goes
Cordels.
out, it uses it uses that to get out. So that also doesn't mean that that's Plo Koon's. I mean, in my head, it is. In my head, Plo Koon got shot down.
The people,
yeah,
it rewards the people who watch the movies that can get a little something, but it's not what the show's lean. It's not. You better get that. It won't make any sense. Kind of thing. Which is good.
We do have Rob is really playing it up and being cool right now and trying to pretend like he doesn't it's not going the way that.
I fucking hate it.
but we know
what?
we know the truth, and we got Bespin Bolton in with the scoop here. Actually, I have to get the picture, but Bespin Bolton has proof that you're a fucking hypocrite. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you made it sound
hungry hypocrite.
Tim, hungry hypocrite. But here we go. I mean, we got this is Rob staying up last night.
Yeah.
Was awake the whole time.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
For this piece.
Yeah, you like it. You like it. You like it.
Pretty good.
That's your substitute teacher for the day. You know? Yeah.
Oh, and thank you, Aria, for sending the photo because I didn't want to look it
Look,
up while on the show. Appreciate it.
as I tried to tell Meg, this is not the face of Timothy Oliphant. just letting you know. I wish it were so. It is not.
Keldor, thank you, Farm Boy, Tatooine Rule Farm Boy. I appreciate it, man. Yeah, Keldor.
Rural.
Well, that's what's funny
Hard
is
time
like
with
like
that word.
if we were just like in my car right now and you asked me pretty much anything about Star Wars, I would be able to just to fucking spit it out like that. I know that, but once I've been talking for like an hour and a half, that's when I just like lose the ability to get that deep recall. Anyways, though, I think we're gonna call this one a show. I won't lie, I need a nap. I need a nap or I need some video games. I'm not sure which it is. Depends on what Bespin's doing. But if Bespin wants to get on some Fortnite for 45 minutes to 4 hours, let me know.
8-year-old Jason hasn't changed much, has he?
Not at all.
We all know what the answer is going to be, don't we?
Sleep or video games.
Yeah.
By the way, yeah, there's a bunch of clues that Luke Skywalker's coming to Fortnite. I mean, it was a leak, and then now in the game files for the current patch, Luke's lightsabers from all three of the original trilogy are in it. So I think Luke's coming pretty soon. So I gotta level up, Rob, because I gotta level up. I don't know what I need, Rob, but I gotta be ready.
Tossing the saber over his shoulder animation.
The leaker of the original information did not understand very much about like Han is coming with like a trench coat, and he was like he didn't understand that was like Return of the Jedi Han, and Leia Bausch and Leia Cinnamon Buns is coming, and Luke Skywalker though we think it was Bespin Bulletin's analysis that convinced me it's most likely they're going to be the Mando Luke. It's Luke in the black outfit is the one that we know is coming for certain. And so I think it's going to be
like Sustain on Bamboo.
But because of what Bespin said, I think it's going to be Mando centric. And there's no fucking Cassian though. No Cassian in Mando. I mean, sorry, no Cassian in Fortnite. Which I was like a little bit bummed about that.
Well, it's no Dune.
They had it, yeah. They had Dune out, but they also had all of the Star Wars things have had offerings to promote the current show in Fortnite, like Vader and Boba and Kenobi, like all of these things. And Episode 9 had all of that stuff. And this is the first one that like straight up doesn't. Hey, Penny, want to play Fortnite with me and Bespin? All right, get ready. Get your charger. We're doing this. No turning back now. Check out Rob. He's. Oh yeah, you didn't see Tim died. Tim died. Tim died. But Rob don't care. He's a hypocrite. He stayed up last night, went to the funeral, didn't do the show, came on the show today because he was at the funeral.
Well rested.
Well rested. But yeah, next week's episode is hopefully incredible. Yeah, I think I'm looking forward to next week when we get to see Mon Mothma. I mean, I'm gonna miss Bix. I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna miss Bix. That said, Mothma ain't no slouch. Mothma ain't no slouch. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to it.
Tension-based world building and the big buildup is just Rogue One. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to see how you gonna do something bigger. It's not gonna be bigger than Rogue One. There's gonna have to be like we saw that scene in the trailer where they're doing like the Mission Impossible drop off a dam. It's gonna be these little like covert tension building, going into the prison to get someone out thing. Like if you're looking for superhero shit, you're in the wrong series,
Yeah.
So my advice to you, like it's not that kind of story.
Joel says that the storytelling of the prequels is vastly underrated. It makes sense to me why Lucas did it that way. If you look at it from the perspective of watching one, completely. And George Lucas tells things.
Years it is.
Well, no, but George Lucas is like his story is like it's very macro, not micro, and it's like you could read into it, you can see what's there. He has intention, but it doesn't always beat you over the head with it. There's people that think that the prequels are a conservative narrative about them, and it's like what? It's not. But there's all kinds of of just the way he does things. This is not that though. This is like a completely different sort of conceit, which I'm about. Bestman also says we got Crescenton and Fennec, but no Cassian and Bix. Yeah, man, I would buy. I would buy him the Bix. I would buy him Bix, so I could just be like, I'm gonna run behind you. That's what I would do. That's how I spend my video game life. That's weird though. That's weird.
Sometimes the thing with all the you get the Batman movie with all the accoutrements, the McDonald tie-in, the big, all the action figures, the big box stuff, and then you got the Crow flying under the radar, right?
You know what? I'm going to say it's good because I think we were going to have that moment like in the Black Mirror episode with the fighting game guys who fall in love. If you were Bix, I think we'd fall in love. I'd fall in love with you. Quinn says I'm 100% fine with they build up to Rogue One, and that's 100% what this is. Like I think. Hold on. I think it's an escalation.
Yeah, I'd stop the world and Bix with you. Right?
Yeah. I want to save Ferrick's shirt. Can we get one of those made? Yeah. What are people thinking? It's a freaking Andor show. Yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, that's Lucasfilm for the first time in their whole dumb life has been really upfront and honest what this show is. I'm giving them complete credit on that. And anybody who went into this and got something different wasn't paying attention. That's for the first time on them. The other time,
you should take a long look in the mirror when those people complain about shows relying on fan service. You may be also expecting fan service and not taking a story for what it is. Again, to reiterate with Chris McQuarrie, he talks about this with the Light the Fuse podcast about, Mission Impossible is older than Star Wars,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's all this room to constantly. They could have put in Leonard Nimoy. They could have put in all sorts of dudes to ham it up, right, with the fan servicey things. But every time they did that, or he'd write or he'd put something in, that's the first thing that gets cut out when you got to cut out the film. So there's just no point in leaning into that. Like, it doesn't bring anyone else in. The people that remember it generally get mad that they saw it anyway because it's not as good as the thing they remember. I'm likening to if you guys remember Santa will remember this, the Gilligan's Island TV movies from 79 to 81, where they had a different Ginger and Bob Denver, or was it Bob Denver, Bill Denver, whatever, fucking Gilligan looked 90 years old. Yeah. Look, whatever his name is. So
the one where they get rescued, like the Rescued movie.
Yeah. And the only one who was aging well was Marianne. But like, it just wasn't the same thing, like it's of its time and place. So, you could honor and put things in and kind of have fun, but when you wrap the whole fucking show around it, it's not going to go well for you. And I look to Boba Fett as one of those things that try to do that. Look, it's Jabba's palace. Is it though? Is it, there's the Sarlacc pit,
You know what Tony Gilroy said? He said Ginger or Marianne, and he said both. That's when he made Bix.
Yeah, that's I don't like the 79 Ginger. Sorry.
I don't remember.
She just stood there with her mouth all the time. It's weird. Yeah.
Yeah, the old Luke and Leia thing. That one's a fun one.
And look, I gave you guys 90 minutes instead of an hour. Think about that. 30 extra minutes from Rob. You didn't want it. You all, here's the hypocrisy, right? Your own hypocrisy. You wanted me to like something so much that when I did, you miss the old mad hates everything Rob.
Fair enough.
Think about it, folks. Think about that kind of fandom. And look, as a guy who has to make things for a living until AI replaces me, which is great because I myself have no intelligence, so it'd be nice.
AI could do the show.
You can't, as a creator, like, you can't be. You have to bring integrity to what you're doing. You cannot just bitch, and then make the thing, and then I didn't make the thing, but I wanted the other thing. You have to set terra firma. You have to put one foot down on the ground and say, okay, if you really like something, it's because you really like something. I want to hear that. But if you just want the shit show, come back tomorrow when we'll have plenty of other things to bitch about. But I got to tell you, as of right now, I just can't unless this show just, like a Wile E. Coyote cartoon just rips the fucking
90 minutes and a
wall.
meme. 90 minutes and a meme. We shouted and we got.
I'm gonna love everything about this, and that's actually why I've been low key the last couple of weeks about it. Like, I don't want to overhype, but everything I've seen so far is my kind of thing, and this show delivered. Again, masterpiece. Except for the Quake logo. Let me take that. That's my other second grab. Every time that thing starts, I just see the Quake logo. Like I like the way they do that star with the sun. It's just that I see the Quake logo. It's like,
okay,
all right.
Yeah,
it has nothing to do with the execution of that.
Okay,
That's cool.
The actual execution was I think the first attempt at it actually doing one. Like the other shows.
The second one was different, right? Though, right?
I think.
Did they play strings on the second?
Theme? The music? Yeah. The music is different every time.
I didn't have time to rewatch a second. I'm gonna watch them with the wifey tonight. But I was like, they are doing different versions of that theme, right? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's how I remember it. But so come back in while I just spooge all over this fucking show next week. I'm just like, I'm jam.
I'm both bummed that it's only one episode. Because it's fair, but it's only one. But also at the same time, I'm glad we'll be able to actually focus on the subtleties. Because this was so much. This was like a fucking film with all of these different parts moving and stuff like that. There's still so much stuff I still want to talk about that. I'm when I watch it again, I'll probably make a little list and we'll hit it throughout the week, or something.
Yeah. And if you want to hear other people complaining about Andor, just type into YouTube all the familiars and you'll get them. They're gonna tell you how it's over and it's dead and blah 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 blah. Meanwhile, they're all going to the premiere to celebration and
you know what I have to say to them?
Of the movies.
I have a message for them. Sabri Canary.
Okay.
The fact that you got 2 shows out of that fucking thing is pretty brilliant, right?
I don't think I'm done. I think it's going to keep on going. I think there's going to be Dari. I think there's going to be I think it's going to keep going. I think I should just start adding different consonants and shit and recording them and putting them in the archive and I'll just pull it out when I need it.
Right.
It'll work.
Are we done?
We're done. Bye. Get the fuck out of here. Go to work. Bye, everybody. Have a good day. Enjoy the show if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, what the fuck are you watching this?
Blue milk like Andor.
Fucking weirdo. Later, guys.
Once that I spied my little eye. Andor, Cassian Andor, talk about Andor, Cassian Andor. He's a rebel spy, super bad friend. Give you a hug at the very end. Make that man feel like 100. He's the road one for me. Kick your ass out. He's not in the show. Is he a fish or a thief? He's Cassian Andor. Cassian Andor. Cassian Andor. It's the end. It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
It's the end of the show.
Come on, let's go. Hey!
You know you should go.
Come on, let's go. It's not about spaceships.